Good evening. I'm Elizabeth Ortega Lomayer, your host and producer of Elecciones 2018. Tonight we will talk with Loretta Garcia. She's a candidate for County Council at Large in Montgomery County. And our guest, Santiago David Tavara, editor at Digital Metro Latino USA and a writer at El Tiempo Latino newspaper. Loretta Garcia lives in the county for 39 years. She is a lawyer, a mediator, and a social justice activist. She is also a member of the Democratic Central Committee. Loretta, why non-Latinos should vote for you?
Why non-Latinos should vote for me? I have a broad experience. I have been in the county government for almost 10 years. And I have a legal background, and I'm a mediator. So I think all of those skills, and I've been a coalition builder on a lot of issues. So I think all of those skills can be put to use on the council, whether it's writing legislation or working with community groups on certain kinds of issues that they want to see in legislation, and in getting out in the county and promoting the laws that we want to pass and implement.
What is your strategy to win? Are you sure you're going to win?
Well, my strategy has been to meet with a lot of different groups. I have, as I said, a lot of experience in the county, and I've been, a lot of people know me by the work I do. As Elizabeth mentioned, I am on the Democratic Central Committee. I've been active in the Democratic Party for many years. And I have been active in associations, lawyers associations, the Hispanic Bar and the DC Bar, the Women's Bar. And so a lot of people know me from that work. And I've been involved in a lot of issues, women's rights issues, immigrant rights issues, minority rights, religious rights. So I think there are a lot of people can find something that are not Hispanic in my experience and in my in the work that I've done.
And who is financing your campaign?
My campaign, I'm under the public finance law. I did file a campaign committee to work and receive the public financing, and I've, as I said, been having fundraisers with groups of people that I know and people that they know, and I was hoping to be able to apply for public financing. Because of a technicality, I won't be able to get the match, but I'm still out there trying to get money from the public, from voters, regular people, and people that I know.
So you will not receive the public financing?
I won't be able, unfortunately, to qualify. Now, if I win if I get one of the 4 seats in the nomination process in the primary, there will be a new portion of the financing, and I can then qualify under that through the general
for the second round.
For the second round.
Mm-hmm.
So you're able to receive any amount of money, right?
Well, right now I'm still taking only up to 150. I did have someone give me 250, but in the past, when I've given to people, I've given as much as $1,000. So, I may be at the point now where I'll take that, because I need yard signs, and I've been doing promotional materials over and over. I'll print 50 to 100 at a time, and once those run out, then I do more. So I'll just have to see, how much money I need. I'm not doing TV ads or anything like that. That really runs into a lot of money.
Have you picked any big endorsement from any organization?
I don't yet have endorsements. I have been a little bit cautious because I'm on the Central Committee for the Democrats, but I am going to start asking people for their personal endorsements.
Budget is not a fund. Funny, right? If we have a deficit, if big, are you opposed to cuts, or are you planning to increase taxes if elected?
Well, we have a $5.5 billion budget in the county. I do have a lot of budget experience. I've been with several different organizations, a collective 10 years as treasurer. So I have dealt with a lot of budgets. I'm also, as I said, in a county agency. I've been there for almost 10 years. And so I've dealt with the county budget from inside. And I think we are now running a $120 million deficit. So it's a serious issue. And we need to look for revenue from a lot of different sources and also try to cut more.
Revenue from, for example, for what sources?
Yeah, revenue from businesses. Hopefully we can bring in some businesses and they'll generate some tax revenue. We're getting a lot of people in the county who are paying taxes from their work.
You were going to say that you were going to cut. What were you going to cut?
Okay.
You mentioned some cuts. Some people don't like cuts.
It's not a popular.
That's a bad word,
It's
but
not
let's
a
hear it.
Right, it's not popular, but and a lot of people don't realize that over the past 10 years we have been cutting a lot out of county government. The initial cuts were in the neighborhood of 17 to 23%, depending on the department, and that went on for 2 or 3 years, and then they've been decreasing in the level of cuts to now there's 2 or 3% cuts across the board. I think you need that sort of thing, but also we're going to have to look at each department and see where we can find additional places where we can cut.
Could you mention some of the departments? Or?
Well, I don't want to make any enemies. Some of the larger departments are Health and Human Services, the Police Department, and the Fire Department. And I understand with public safety why you don't want to cut too much from them, but I think they are ripe for looking at to see where there might be some additional places to cut.
Can you talk to me about yourself, where you're coming from? Your last name is Garcia.
Yes.
And you told me something nice about the border, right?
Sure, okay. I was born and raised in Colorado, a suburb of Denver, and I came here for law school in 1979, and lived in D.C. and went to law school there, and then I've been living and working in Montgomery County since the early 90s. What I mentioned to you was the descent. We say we didn't cross the border crossed us. So my ancestors have been here for more than 400 years, and in fact I have a grandmother who is Native American. So I have roots. I tell people a lot of times my roots are deeper than your family's roots.
Yeah, it's not like immigrants, right? Because
I'm not an immigrant, no. I do sympathize with people who come here to make a better life, and that's why I've done a lot of work with immigrants. And
So do you prefer to be called Hispanic or Latina?
Well, I go by either. Obviously,
There's no preference.
Hispanic is the oldest term, so that's why a lot of people still refer to people as Hispanic. And initially, Latina meant that you moved here, you were an immigrant. Now I think the terms have merged and in fact been replaced, and now there's the new term Latinx for the younger generation.
I didn't hear that.
So, I go by many terms. In fact, I've told people I answer to many names. I'm a mother, I'm a lawyer, I'm a mediator, I'm a public servant, you name it. I've got a lot of different.
Why do you think there is a need of development?
A need for development? I think we do need to develop because the county is growing. We're now over 1 million people in the county. But I think we need a balance between development and infrastructure, because we've kind of we approve and build, and then we realize, guess what? We don't have enough roads, we don't have enough public transportation to service those areas, we don't have enough schools, the schools are overcrowded. So we need, I think, a pause on new construction and kind of take a planned look at development. So that's what I would do.
And what is the purple line, right? Also the bus rapid.
Yes, but I'm a big fan of bus rapid transit.
Why?
I think those, it's cheaper than building out the metro. I'd love to see metro build all the way out to Frederick and all the way out to Baltimore, although we do have MARC train all in the direction of Baltimore. But bus rapid transit can be implemented above ground. There's now a plan to go from Bethesda. Well, the Route 29 is already approved, so it would go all the way out Route 29. The one from Bethesda to Clarksburg is in the planning stages now, and the intention is to have the buses run between metro stations so that people can get to the public transportation a little more easily than they can now. And by making it run continuously, it alleviates some of the wait times.
So when you say that we need to look at the development, what do you mean about look? When you are in the county council, what are you going to do?
Well, obviously the planning board does the actual looking at the plans, but we certainly, because of the funding and the oversight, we on the council, we would have some input into the development.
On immigration, I know it's a federal issue, but what Montgomery County can do about immigrants undocumented?
Sure.
They live under fear, or and also some proposals to share information with immigration and police department. What do you think Montgomery County can do?
Well, immigration is definitely a federal legal issue, but there are some ways that a local and state government can work to help immigrants. There are what they call sanctuary cities and counties where you make it a little safer for people. In Montgomery County government, we do not ask for someone's immigration status or their documentation. We don't cooperate with with ICE. The police department does not stop people to ask their immigration status and then report that to ICE. We do if someone is stopped and there is a warrant out for their to be picked up by ICE. Our police department does provide that information.
But about those threats by the Trump administration to cut funds for those sanctuary cities, and if you see California
Yes.
facing a lawsuit.
Right, California is pushing back on what you're mentioning is that the federal government under the Trump administration has said that any sanctuary cities or sanctuary states will lose their federal funding for, in many different ways. And so California is now in a big fight with the federal government. Maryland so far has not gotten into that situation, but there are a number of counties and a number of cities in Maryland that are doing more to help immigrants. So it may not be far behind, but I would definitely support us still being on the side of the immigrants and fighting against federal government.
How do you see the economy in the next 4 years?
Everybody says, oh, it's going to get better, it's going to get better, it's going to get better, and frankly, it's been in the doldrums since 2008, and I think there are a lot of families that are hurting. People have lost their jobs, people have lost their homes, and in the Office of Human Rights where I work, we see a lot of people. We take claims of discrimination in employment and housing and against businesses, and we do see a lot of people struggling with those kinds of issues. They've lost their house or they're about to, they've lost their job or about to. So the economy, I think what we can do locally is to try to bring in more businesses, try to be friendlier to businesses so that they will continue to give jobs. When I go out and talk to employers, I always thank them for having jobs in Montgomery County. And same with housing providers. I thank them for providing housing in Montgomery County because those are vital needs that we have for our families.
You talk to me about your achievements in the Human Rights Office. What have you done?
Okay, the Office of Human Rights is the agency of county government that enforces the anti-discrimination laws. As I said, it's in basically 3 major areas: employment, housing, and what we call public accommodation, which is businesses, transportation, restaurants, hotels, things like that. And So we handle hundreds of cases every year of people coming in and saying that they feel that they've been discriminated against. And we have a fair process. We function like a court. We take the complaint and work that up and send that to the employer or the housing provider or the business and get their side of the story, and then we decide whether we think there's been discrimination, and we have an appeal process, we have a mediation process. So I think it's a wonderful array of programs that we have to try to make sure that people are treated fairly and not discriminated on their physical characteristics.
What would you do in the county council to increase affordable housing in Montgomery County?
Well, I think that's a big area. You know, the more people we get, the less. You know, housing prices operate on a supply and demand. So the more people you have, without increasing the numbers of units, then you end up with the prices increasing. So one, we have to get more housing in, just period. And two, we have to try to, where there are complexes that are built, we have to have affordable housing in those complexes. The policy in Montgomery County is to spread affordable housing throughout the county so that we don't have, like the old style tenements where you had a big tower where all the low income people were placed. That was not a desirable outcome, because you had sometimes increasing crime and increasing poverty, and so it was decided that if you spread it out around the county, you have a much better result. And so that's what we do in Montgomery County. And new complexes have the federal requirement of 12.5% affordable units, and we've been trying in Montgomery County with not too much success to get to 15% or 20% of the units in the new developments would be affordable for low-income people.
And why would not success?
Well, you know, obviously somebody who's developing a new complex wants to get top dollar. Profit is why they're building it. So if you tell them they have to have more units at a capped price, then it's not as attractive to them. So we do get some pushback from the.
So then they don't build.
Well, they build, but they don't want to put more than what's they're federally required, which is 12.5%.
Oh, okay. So they go
Right.
to the federal
Right.
requirement.
And the other thing that's desirable in a lot of ways is the mixed use developments. So what a lot of the approved areas are now is it's commercial, it's retail, and it's housing, all in the same place. Like if you've been out to Pike and Rose, that's the kind of thing. And West Bard is also approved for that mixed use housing, or mixed use development, so that you have people can live and work and shop in the same geographic area. So you don't have to get in your car every time you walk out the door.
Do you have a proposal on gun control?
On gun control. Well, actually, the state of Maryland does have restrictions on automatic weapons. You cannot, a ban actually, you can't have automatic weapons in Maryland, can't purchase them. And then we just this week passed restrictions on what are called bump stocks, which are, as I understand it, an apparatus you can put on a rifle that would turn it into basically an automatic discharge. So that just passed this week, and I think if the governor signs that, that'll be a good step forward. I mean, you've seen these teens that are just filling the streets in protest and going to state houses and even the U.S. Congress to ask for restrictions on automatic weapons and other weapons of mass.
How many women would you like to see in the county council?
How many
women?
Women. Oh, yeah. In the last election, we lost women actually in our federal delegation, and that was a big disappointment to me. I've worked a lot of years on women's rights and trying to advance women, and I work with young women, not just women, boys also, but trying especially to get women to have self-confidence to get improve their education and get good jobs. And I have interns in my office, and I work with mentoring youth, and so I would like to see more women.
Like how many?
We're going to, well, there are 9 on the council.
I'm pushing you.
I would love to see 5 women. I would love to see 5 women. We're going to lose Nancy Florine. Right now we have Nancy Florine and Nancy Navarro that are the women on the council. 3 of the men are running for county executive. So their seats are open. And it would be great if we could have 5 women on the council.
Best of luck for you. I wish you the best.
Thank you.
And thank you
so
for
much.
being here, and thank you both of you.
Thank you
And
for
all
the
our
opportunity.
friends in Facebook for joining us tonight. We'll
Okay.
be back next week. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.